everyone out there. I hope you're doing okay today. Welcome to the Rune Circle. I'm Jilly Little Zen Crone, and we are walking through the Anglo-Saxon Futhark of the runes, and we are also side by side looking at the Elder Futhark runes, which is something I didn't think I was going to do, but it's happening, so here we go. Again, I'm not trying to teach anybody anything. I am just beginning to work with runes myself. I took my first rune class just a year ago. And what I want to do with this Rune Circle series is to share knowledge, to share what we know, and how we're using the runes in our lives. Last week I shared a little bit about a rune that we can use for protection. You can go back and look at that. It's week 3. And this week I want to share the rune, the 4th rune, and that would be the rune Os, or Ansuz as it's known in the Elder Futhark. So the first thing you will see if you looked at the picture in the opening of the video is that the Elder Futhark rune looks different than the Anglo-Saxon rune. And here is the Anglo-Saxon rune again, and it's got those little squiggly things on the end that go up on the end of what looks like it could be the letter F. And in the Elder Futhark, it looks much more like the letter F. Now I want to talk a little bit about this deck real quick. This deck is called the Star Rune Oracle, and it was created a few years ago. I want to say 3 years ago, by our Kristen, Louise, Pantel. I will link to it below, and she has a book that goes along with it that you can download when you purchase the deck. This is a beautiful deck. It follows the Elder Futhark runes, and it is about 74 cards. It's got 2 to 3, maybe 3 cards for each rune, and goes through the different meanings. Let me just show you some of the cards that are in this deck. Whoops. I like decks like this because you can use it, you can use them as flashcards, and if you're not into casting runes, you could, do a spread with these. So I love her images. I mean, look at this one. This is a beautiful image. Yeah, I love her images, and go on over and if you're learning the runes, go on over and support Kristen. She's a small creator just like I am with the Crone's Compass, and it's great to be able to support small creators and women creators. All right, so let's talk about the rune Os, and I probably will use some notes again, so forgive me, but in the Anglo-Saxon tradition, Os is translated into mouth or words. And the Anglo-Saxon rune poem said, if I can find it, where did it go? Here we go. Os is the fountain of speech, the source of wisdom, and a comfort to every warrior. Now, I have to think about why it would be a comfort to every warrior, except comforting words to a warrior who's in battle, for sure. And just to like go off on a tangent for a second too, the thing that amazes me, and I probably talked about this a little bit last week, and I'll probably continue to talk about it, is how these runes were a means of communication. They were an alphabet to different groups or tribes of people, and it's how they communicated with each other and with their greater world. And also, as far back as the 1st century, there was a Roman historian, I think his name is Tacitus, Tacitus, and he recorded seeing like smaller branches of trees with carvings on them used in divination, and so we kind of drew the conclusion that these might be runes. So, you know, as far back as the 1st century, these were being used, and I just think that it's amazing that we still have them today. What a gift from our ancestors. So, os, mouth in the Anglo-Saxon Futhark, mouth, communication, wisdom being imparted, wisdom coming down from the heavens. And in the Elder Futhark, it was very greatly, Ansuz is very greatly connected to the god Odin, the Norse god Odin. So in the more ancient tradition, this would have been maybe used, this rune might have been used in prayer if you were calling out to Odin, or maybe you know, using it in prayer, using, you know, praying to your gods or goddesses. That's how I interpret it anyway. And and I think as far as the Anglo-Saxon Futhark, maybe using it in communication with other people, perhaps maybe like more legal or important communications, council meetings, transactions, that kind of thing. And we're also maybe using it as a prayer or an inspiration, to gain inspiration for like more public speaking. Maybe I should use it before I do videos. Public speaking, or yeah, I guess public speaking is, or important, you know, verbal communications. I wonder if they would have done it if they would have used us before hand fastings or at hand fastings. And I keep saying use, like I'm not quite sure, you know, would you have, like for a communication between two people, would you have drawn that rune on the paper, or you know, again, like drawn it on your palms, or maybe carved it into the writing implement. I find the whole thing really, really fascinating. And then how it would come up in a divination reading, I'm not quite sure, because it's never come up for me in a divination reading, that I'm sure of. But yeah, and I also think that it gives it kind of, this rune is sort of, to me, like it's an auspicious rune as well, and one that, as we are getting into Samhain season, seems like it might be a good one to work with. So what are you doing with your the information that you get. I have I don't know if I honestly don't know that I would call it a grimoire. I'm not sure that it technically would be defined as a grimoire, but it's like my book of stuff. So I have in it different different candle colors or colors and what those colors mean, numerology. I have different symbolism. I have herbs in there. I have recipes for like herbal tinctures and herbal sprays, and then I've started to write down each one of the runes in there too. So I wonder what are you doing with your information? How do you remember or use it? And then I think decks like Kristen's, the Star Rune Oracle, I think those are great ways to remember too, to keep seeing them and keep using them. It's a language. We have to learn it and we have to use it or we lose it, right? All right. So, modern uses. Let's look at modern uses. Where are you? Here we go. So modern uses would be, for clarity, to use for clarity of speech, for teaching. I can see that too. And for public speaking, and to call on for inspiration, for writing. Oh, okay. Inspiration for writing or chanting or singing. Anything you would use your voice for, right? That makes sense. Okay, so here's one. It says that it's used for protection when traveling between worlds, like shamanic journeying. So that's interesting as well. Okay, let's get to the... Okay, so it's associated, as you can imagine, the element that it's associated would be air, like, speech, and also the heavenly realms, gods, goddesses, Odin. And then the animals that it would be associated with are birds. So ravens, crows, songbirds, anything like that. So we have the idea of speech and voice and communication, and also Odin and wisdom being passed down through Odin and through the gods and through our ancestors. So that was, I don't know, this is a really interesting one. I want to it makes me want to dive in deeper. I hope you feel that way too. Let me know in the comments what you're using, how you've learned, what you've learned about Os or Ansuz, and how are you using runes, and what methods do you do for remembering? So I will talk to you, or I'll see you next week on Wednesday for our next rune, which I believe is Rad or Rido. And this Friday, let's see, the date will be the 19th at 4 o'clock. I will be live for the new moon. So it'll be, wine and tarot. I don't have anybody on with me, so it's just me. We'll have a glass of wine together and some chit chat and do a spread together. So join us on Friday. I will be getting the thumbnail up today. Until then, everyone, take care, be kind to each other. Bye-bye.